Okay, let's move on to a pinch. And if you've ever used Safari on the iPhone, you will recognize the pinch gestures for zooming in and zooming out of web pages. So that's what we can add by using a pinch gesture recognizer. So click and drag, and again you'll see that the icon is slightly different. So click on that, and for the purpose of today, we're not going to change anything on this, because the only option you have is how much the object that you're pinching scales, and for this particular example it doesn't really apply, so we're not going to change anything on that. So we'll just add an action from our pinch gesture. Pinch me. self.gesturelabel.text equals pinch detected. And run that. Now of course a pinch requires 2 fingers, so again we'll need the Alt key. So we start with our cursor down the bottom right hand corner, so we can do a pinch in. So Alt, click and pinch in. There you go. And if we clear our text, now if we move the cursor into the middle, and then we'll move it out for a pinch out. So click and out, and again we get a pinch detected. So the pinch recognizer will do both a pinch in and a pinch out. So that's a pinch gesture recognizer. Similar to that is a rotation recognizer, so we'll add one of those. And again a different icon. And like the pinch, there isn't really anything for us to change here. All we want to do is just detect that some rotation has occurred. So we'll add an action. Rotate me. Connect that up. self.gesturelabel.text equals rotation detected, and run. And like a pinch, we need 2 fingers for a rotation, so we'll just start with our cursor in the middle, hit the Alt button, okay, click down and then move around, and we got our rotation. Okay, so do that again. Alt button, click down and rotate. Rotation detected. Okay, so that's a rotation. And the last one that we're going to do is this long press. So click and drag onto our view. Select it. And what we're going to change here is, first of all, the duration. So how long do we want our finger to be on the screen before our long press detection is triggered? And at the moment it's set for ½ a second, but we'll change that to 2 seconds. And again we get taps and touches, so this is just a single finger pushing down once. Okay. So back to the .h, control, click, drag, action, and just call it long press. Back to the .m, self.gesturelabel.text. Now we'll say 2 second press detected. And run that. So click and hold, 2-second press detected. Click and hold, 2-second press detected. Okay, so that's working as we wanted it to. Okay, so that's how really easy it is to add gesture recognizers. And of course, we're just changing the label on a text, but of course you can do any action. Once the gesture has been detected, we can do anything that we would normally do with a button or any other type of control, really. So one of the more advanced features that we're going to do with our gesture recognizer is transition to another view, or in other words, transition to another screen. So like I showed you last week, we're going to add a new view controller, and then on a swipe up, we're going to transition to the new view, and then add another swipe gesture recognizer to the second view in order to transition back again. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is add a new file. So file, new file, and we want iOS, Cocoa Touch, and a UI view controller subclass. Click next, and we're just going to call this second view, and it's a subclass of UI view controller because we're controlling a view, and we want an XIB for the user interface. Hit the next button and then create. And you'll see now that we've got our 3 files that we always have for a view, a .h, a .m, and a .zip. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is to make sure that our first view controller, so this one here, we need to tell this first view controller that this second view controller exists, because at the moment they don't know about each other. All right, and the way we do that is by using this import statement. Okay, and this import statement can be in either the .h or the .m. Okay, I'll just put it in the .h. So after this first UIKit import statement, we're going to go on to the next line, and then Alt key and number 3 to give us a £, and then type import, and we want this first option here, header. And all we have to do is type the name of the header file, the .h file, for our second view. So we start typing second, and we get that there. Okay, so let's hop on over to the .m file. And we're simply I'm just going to change our up swipe detector. So I'm going to get rid of this line of code, and this is where we're going to add code to enable us to transition from the first view to the second view. So what we need to do is create an instance of our second view. Okay, so to do that, we simply call the class name, which is second view, and then to create an instance of that second view, we do star, and then we give our new instance a name. So let's just call it my second view. And the first thing we need to do is allocate memory for it. Okay, so we do that with that message. And then we need to initialize it. So to open second view, which is the class, alloc init. Okay, and all this warning here, all that's saying is that we haven't used it yet. Now when we transition from one view to another, The default transition type is called cover vertical. So the second view will emerge from the bottom of the screen. Okay, so that's the one that we want because we're going to swipe up, and so it's natural that that swiping up action will seem like we're pulling the second view up from the bottom of the screen. So we don't actually need to tell Xcode what type of transition we want because we just want the default. So if you want the default, which is the cover vertical option, you don't need to tell Xcode what type of transition type you want. All we need to say is self, and if you start typing present, we want this option here, present modal view controller animated. Select that one. Now this method here requires an argument of a UI view controller object. Okay, we can tell that because of the star. Now we've just created a UI view controller called my second view. So we just have to type my second view. Okay, and the second method being implemented here is animated, and it takes a Boolean data type, which means yes or no. So do we want this transition to be animated or to happen instantaneously? Now usually you will want a fancy animation, so you'll type yes, close off the method, semicolon. And that's all we need to do to transition to the second view via a swipe up. Okay, so let's run that. And we swipe up, we get our new view appearing. Now of course we haven't added a button or a gesture recognizer to our second view in order to get back to the first view. Okay, so we need to do that now. So if we choose the second view.zip, okay, and just to make it clear, what we'll do is we'll add a navigation bar to our view, and we'll give it a title, second view, so we know when we transition to the view that it actually is the second view. So like we did before with our gesture recognizers, we just need a swipe gesture recognizer onto our view, release, click on it, and this time we want a down gesture. Okay, we opted for an up gesture on the first view, and so we want a down swipe on the second view because we're going to animate the second view out in a downward direction. So like before, we need an action from our swipe gesture recognizer, so control, click and drag, and an action, and we're going to call this dismiss view. Okay, and hop on over to the .m and down to our method here. And all we need to do to dismiss this view is call self and dismiss modal view controller animated. And it's a Boolean value again, so it's yes or no. And we animated the view coming in, so let's animate it going out again. So we'll choose yes. Okay, and let's run that now. So this is our first view, and we're going to transition to the second view with a swipe up. So there's our second view. You can see it's exactly the same. So now to transition back to the first view, we're going to swipe down, and we're back to the first view. So swipe up, swipe down.